There's no doubt that SUVs have been dominating US auto sales for quite some time. They have much larger cargo capacities and more rear passenger space. So why would someone want a luxury sedan instead of an SUV? Well, I'll tell you, because they're a lot more fun to drive. Before I jump into this A6, do me a favor and hit subscribe below. We have a lot of great videos coming your way. The 2019 Audi A6 has been completely redesigned. It's on sale now. Price is starting right at $60,000. There's only one engine available. It's a turbocharged 3-liter V6 that puts out 335 horsepower. That's mated to a 7-speed automated dual-clutch transmission, and Quattro all-wheel drive is standard. Those specs aren't really that far off from the last A6. I don't expect it to drive that much differently as a result, but there's only one way to find out. Let's go for a spin. Here I am driving the all-new 2019 Audi A6. It's fully redesigned, but at the same time, it's not all that different. It's familiar in a lot of ways in how it drives. Dynamically, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect from an Audi mid-size luxury sedan. The needle really didn't move too far one way or the other, and that's probably a good thing. I've always liked the level of engagement and level of performance from Audis. Really, the big difference with this Audi is technology. This whole center stack has been completely redone. We saw it first on the A8. I'm a little torn on how it works because they got rid of the MMI knob, which I thought was a great way to control systems like this, and gone with 2 split touchscreens. And so far on this drive, I'm not sold because it's demanding a lot more attention than just the knob. What I am enjoying is the performance. It gets up to speed just fine. The shifts are nice and smooth and quick, which is impressive for a dual clutch transmission. Those tend to be a little choppy or abrupt from time to time, and even at slow speeds, it's smooth and doesn't have any of those awkward lurches. One thing that I thought was a little odd was the sound of the engine. So, it doesn't quite sound like a V6 to me. It sort of makes the case for BMW and Mercedes piping in some of those synthetic sounds, but that's a nitpick. It drives great. The steering is fairly light. I'm actually in dynamic mode right now. You have the option of getting all-wheel steering. That certainly helps with maneuverability in tight spaces, but it also smooths out some of the motions when you're steering. The rear wheels will steer in conjunction in the same direction as the front wheels to kind of just get it carving a little more graceful without having it whip around quite as much. The handling is pretty much what you expect for a luxury sedan like this in the class, and from Audi. It handles confidently. You have a ton of traction coming out of turns thanks to the all-wheel drive, and you have the Quattro system. It's a little smarter of how it proportions the power, but also can disconnect itself when you're not using it, when you don't need that much traction. Like if you're just on a straightaway on a highway, it'll disconnect and improve fuel economy. In terms of power and performance, this A6 drives a lot like the previous A6. It is just slightly heavier because of all the added feature content, but with all of the advances in engine technology and efficiency, plus this has a 48-volt mild hybrid system, it gets 2 miles per gallon better than its predecessor. The ride quality is pretty much what you'd expect from a luxury mid-size sedan. I'm in dynamic mode right now, so I'm going to switch to comfort. If you notice, I had to look down to do that, and that's something that just kind of irks me. I liked the previous button for Drive Select, and I didn't really have to take my eyes off the road to do that. These are just kind of the flat haptic feedback buttons here. Like a lot of the new Audis, this has a higher level of adaptive cruise control, which kind of gets into that territory of automated driving. It's called predictive control, and it's pretty trippy. I first experienced this with the Q7 a few years ago, where you set the target speed as you would with any cruise control system, but it's using map data and all the cameras and sensors. As you head into a turn, it slows you down. When you come out of a turn, it speeds you up, which is what it's doing right now. It's in a fairly conservative setting right now, so it's slowing me down a little more than I would if I was actually in complete control of the car. But you can actually adjust it and have it be a lot more aggressive. As So I'm actually not touching any of the pedals right now. I'm just steering. Another thing I'm enjoying right now is the massage. I do like massaging seats, especially when you're behind the wheel for hours at a time. It kind of shifts the pressure points away and just relieves a lot of the fatigue and the doldrums of driving. As a mid-sized luxury sedan, the Audi A6 has to accommodate adult passengers in the back seats, and it does. I'm 5'10" and I have plenty of headroom, plenty of room for my feet underneath the front seat, which is actually set for a slightly taller passenger. It's comfortable, it's spacious. I have the nice padded center armrest here with your typical over-engineered cup holders. Back here I have 2 more controls for automatic climate control for the outboard seats, since this is a highly optioned A6. Underneath there are 2 USB ports and a 12-volt power outlet. I have manual sunshades here that are really easy to pop up and down. Besides having the physical room, it actually feels even more spacious thanks to the good outward view and this little cutout triangle here, which kind of breaks up that thick roof pillar. Otherwise, it might feel just a little closed in. All in all, this is a pretty nice place to spend some time on a road trip. I'd be fine back here. Like a lot of the latest Audi products, this A6 gets a complete tech treatment. Right in front is the typical virtual cockpit that we've seen on Audis going back a few years, and it's great. It's easy to use, it's somewhat customizable, and it's easy to read in almost any light. Above that is a head-up display that's crystal clear, gives a lot of detail, all the necessary stuff. New for the A6 is this split-level touchscreen, which debuted in the Audi A8. The difference here is it's canted slightly towards the driver, making it somewhat easier to use, but maybe a little harder for the passenger to use. Unlike a lot of other infotainment systems, these screens are mounted right in the middle in the dash rather than on top. I prefer having them on top because it's right in the driver's sight lines and it's less distracting to use. That said, it is pretty cool to use. When you touch one of these buttons, it responds with this lovely little haptic feedback that mimics the physical buttons that are in the car. There aren't a whole lot of physical buttons in this car though. They noted that they eliminated about 43 physical buttons. In my opinion though, they should have left a dozen or so because I like having some tactile buttons that you can use without even looking down. I like the look, I like the responsiveness of the system, but what I don't like is how much of a distraction it can be just because it's not as easy to use as the old MMI dial or the BMW iDrive or the Mercedes MBUX system, which I think is the best in the industry at this point. Otherwise, throughout the cabin, we have excellent materials used everywhere. Everything just has that solid feel, and I love that. One cool thing I really like too is this isn't a mechanical door lever. It's actually electronic. So it's just this very slight effort. And that's just one of those nice touches that makes you feel like you're in something a little more special. As far as the interior goes, I like the aesthetics. I just wish this was a little less distracting to use. After logging a bunch of miles above beautiful Napa Valley here in this 2019 Audi A6, I'm left with the impression that, at least dynamically, there's not a big difference between this and its predecessor. And that's not such a bad thing. It drives great. The interior is impeccable, and there's a good amount of performance, especially considering that this is the A6, not an S6 or RS6. In the class of mid-sized luxury sedans, it competes against the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes-Benz E-Class. The E-Class is just starting to show its age, primarily because it doesn't feature the latest MBUX infotainment system, which I think is one of the best in the industry. Against the BMW 5 Series, it's a much closer call. The BMW has a slight edge as far as response and performance, and it also has a decent amount of technology as well. Deciding between the two is probably going to come down to just personal preference. Whether you like the styling better, or the interior, or if you're a technophile or early adopter and really want the latest, shiniest bits. If that's the case, the A6 will probably be the best fit for you. Let us know what you think in the comments below. For more information on the A6 as well as its competition, head on over to Edmunds.com. To see more videos like this, hit subscribe.